Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to be focusing on key signatures again this time, except it's going to be talking about sharps instead of flats. It's still very important for us to be able to look at a key signature and look at the sharps and identify which sharps we're going to need to be able to play for the piece. Circled in red at the bottom, you can find an example of a sharp key signature. What is a key signature? Again, for review, it's at the beginning and it tells us which sharps, flats, and naturals that we should use for a piece of music. Here is an example of the maximum amount of sharps that you could have in either the treble clef or the bass clef. There are 7 of them, again, because A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are the letters that we use in the musical alphabet, and there are 7 of those. In order to identify the sharps, you can use mnemonic devices such as the treble clef lines saying every good boy deserves fudge, and the treble clef spaces saying F-A-C-E. For the bass clef, you could say that the lines say George Bush drives fast always, and that the spaces say all cows eat grass. If you don't want to memorize a bunch of silly mnemonic devices like that, you could realize that both the treble clef and the bass clef and the lines and the spaces are just using the same alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, where after G, it repeats back to A. So in the treble clef, the bottom line is E, followed by F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And in the bass clef, the bottom line is G, which would then repeat back to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A again. This sharp is on the top line of the treble clef. Every good boy deserves fudge means that that top line is going to stand for F. So you would play all Fs as sharp for that piece of music. The second sharp, since we know the first one is F already, is going to be in the third space of the treble clef. F, A, C, E. The third sharp in the treble clef is above our staff. So we're going to have to remember that every good boy deserves fudge tells us that the top line is F, but that sharp is even above the top line, so it's going to be one space higher than that. What is one letter higher than F in the musical alphabet is G. So that third sharp is going to be G sharp, meaning that all G's throughout the piece would be played as G sharp instead of G. The fourth sharp is going to be on the fourth line in the treble clef. Every good boy deserves fudge for D sharp. This time we have 5 sharps. The fifth one is in the second space from the bottom. F, A, C, E means that the fifth sharp is an A sharp. The next sharp is the sixth sharp, and it's in the top space of the treble clef. F, A, C, E means that the sixth sharp is going to be E sharp. The final sharp in the treble clef is going to fall on that third line. Every good boy deserves fudge. Now let's move on to the bass clef. The first sharp in the bass clef is going to be on the fourth line. George Bush drives fast always. First sharp in the bass clef is going to be an F sharp. The second sharp is in the second space from the bottom. All cows eat grass. The third sharp is in the top space. All cows eat grass. When we have 4 sharps, the fourth sharp will fall on the third line. George Bush drives fast always. So the fourth sharp in the bass clef will be D sharp. When there are 5 sharps, the fifth sharp will fall in that bottom space. All cows eat grass means that that bottom sharp is going to be an A sharp. The next sharp is in the third space from the bottom. All cows eat grass. The seventh and final sharp in the bass clef is going to be on the second line from the bottom. George Bush drives fast always. So the last sharp in the bass clef is going to be a B. Think about some things that we went through during this lesson and maybe even compare it with the flat key signatures that we talked about before. Did you notice any patterns with these sharps? For instance, the first two are F and C. How far are they away from each other? And then between the second and the third sharp, C and G, how far away were they from each other? Are there some sharps that you saw more commonly than the other sharps? Were there any similarities between the sharps that you saw in the treble clef and the sharps that you saw in the bass clef? And lastly, again back to last time, did you notice a correlation between the sharp key signatures and the flat key signatures? Congratulations, now you know how to identify all of the sharps in key signatures. Thanks for joining us. Have an absolutely fabulous day.